Hi everyone, the Lone Wolf here. Welcome back to EVE Talk, your weekly look at the market in EVE Online. I hope everyone is enjoying the Tiamat release with all the drifters and all of that stuff that's happening. I'm having quite a lot of fun just reading up on the lore and reading about all of the interesting ideas people are having about what is going to mean for the future of EVE Online. One of the ones that I really prefer is the idea that the drifters are actually going to cause the destructibility of stuff in nullsec that at the moment cannot be destroyed, like outposts and things like that. That would be related to that. I think that would be really cool. It does also show that CCP is not afraid of making EVE a very harsh world to live in, because I can imagine that a new player that has no idea what's going on, he comes across a beacon like an unidentified wormhole, goes to check it, and then gets destroyed by one of those drifters. He's gonna say what the hell is happening. But EVE is a hard and quite a harsh game where you'll want to have the help of friends around you, just so that you can understand what's actually happening. And I think it's pretty cool that CCP is not afraid of doing stuff like that. But we are here for the market, of course, so let us start with plex as always. And 125, something like that sounds good. This is the 3-month chart. As you can see, it's finally stabilizing at 800 million. So there is no sign. Let me quickly show you the one. Oh, maybe a little bit. Look at that, 796. Has it changed since I wrote down the stuff? No, around 803 million for a plex, a little bit higher than that, and 791 for the buyers. So it looks like plex is finding its price at the moment and is sitting at around 800 million, which I think is not completely unreasonable, although it's still decently high. You need to know what you're doing, and you need a decently successful activity to be able to fund the plex every month. But yeah, it's sitting at 800 million, and at the moment to me it's looking like that's where it's going to stay for now. If you have any other ideas, of course, feel free to post that in the comments. At least it's nice if we go for a 6-month chart that we've corrected quite a bit from the 960 million. The one thing that I think is helping plex stay at 800 million is, of course, that FanFest is coming, and you never know what kind of plex related stuff could be available at FanFest or around the FanFest period. A sale there, of course, and if there's fewer activities that we could expect, could actually mean a downward pressure on plexes as well. So it could go either way in my opinion, but I think until FanFest actually hits, that will be looking at plex at around 800 million. Moving on to minerals, we will start with titanium, and well, that's around 3 minutes, that's okay. Titanium going down, and this was not within my expectations. You can clearly see here that titanium broke the 6 ISK mark, and then look out below, it's actually going down pretty fast here. 590 for the sellers. Was it a little bit higher when I was checking the prices for the banner? I do think so. And then 585 for the buyers, 590 for the sellers. Very small margin here, but this is clearly something that that has changed here in the titanium market. The fact that it's gone below 6 ISK and that here we do see a clear pullback of it, I do think is something to keep in mind. And to be careful when it comes to titanium. We could really see a pullback because of this. It's a bit of psychological barrier, of course, but once some of those round numbers are broken, we do see this very often, that there is a serious correction coming in here. So we'll have to see what the other ones are doing, of course, to get an idea. Let's take a look at Pirate. That one's actually taking off a little bit, heading towards 1235. That's unexpected in my book here again. So 1230 for the buyers, 1240 for the sellers, and clearly on this 1-month chart taking off from, well, I would say closer to a 12.15 ISK price normally, 12.35 up 20 cents. It's not that big a movement yet either, but well, it is there, and that's obviously starting to pull the 20-day moving average up as well here. And the height of the spike here for Pirate was at 1260. Yeah, just a little bit, and we might actually be there. So then I'm pretty interested in titanium here as well. Yeah, that's exactly an opposite movement. That's decently interesting. Let's have a look here at Mixalm then. Maybe I should start with the 1-month chart just to get an idea of what that one's doing. Well, if you look at this data point, that's dangerous. If it would cross the 60 ISK price mark, again, I do think there is a danger for a correction in Mexalon. Let's have a look here. 61, well, 60.70 for the sellers, 59.70 for the buyers. So it's still right in the middle of that. And I do think that this will actually correct back up here, and that this will not break the 60 ISK. If it doesn't, the reason I'm saying this is because of what Pyrite is doing. So if Pyrite had started to pull back as well, and then we saw this pattern in Mexalon, I would say that across the board there is a threat of a pullback, but at the moment that doesn't seem to be happening. Oh, I didn't really check supply demand here. 50 million, 30, 80, 26 million. So again here demand a little bit higher. Let's have a look at Pyrite very quickly. Demand quite a few orders of like 250, 300 million. Here we have 158, 500 million. That's a pretty big one, but I would still give a slight advantage to the demand here. And here is titanium then. Well, again, still look at that, almost a billion, 800 million, 585, and 557 is really the biggest one we see here, until here almost a billion as well. But I'd still give the edge to demand here. So pretty interesting that titanium is pulling back and managed to break 6 ISK despite all of that. Let's have a look at Isogen. Also, it went up quite a little bit over the course of like last week, or the first half of last week, and the second half of the week before that. And so now it's pulling back a little bit, but you can see that the 20-day moving average is actually going above 130. And so, yeah, Isogen is higher. So 130.45 for the buyers, 131.84 for the sellers. Let's have a look at supply demand. Well, there is a bit of supply oversupply, I would say, but that is just because of this price spike right here. I do think that by next week this could potentially become a bit more in line once again. So 53 million, 99 million, those are people that are trying to unload their stock, trying to take advantage of prices well above 130, whereas at the beginning of the month we were at 126. Maybe a quick look at the 6-month chart. You can see though that it comes off like an all-time high in the last 6 months for Isogen. So it's normal that supply takes over a little bit. So I would say that a decently stable market is still in the cards. I mean, Pyrite, you'll probably see some supply coming in to try and take advantage of prices heading towards 12.4 once again. Same with well, Mexalon right here. That's a little bit dangerous, but I do think that supply demand still holds true for maintaining a price above 60. And it's just titanium is the one that's doing this weird little downward trend, breaking its what I would have considered to be a pretty strong price point of 6 ISK, and just breaking right through that and going down. So it's going to be interesting to see in the next week whether it's like the titanium that turns out to be the one that's that was ahead of all of the others, or if titanium actually pulls back towards 6 ISK and that we are indeed in a stable mineral market for at least the high-sec minerals. Let's have a look at Noxium then. That one was doing really well after it slumped towards 540. Now it is finally enough for the market, and it looks like it's going to settle at around the 660 mark, 650 maybe even, 646 for the buyers, 654 for the sellers. So yeah, that looks like it's going to be on the 1-month chart right here, right around 650, 660, something like that. But it's done quite well in the last few months to crawl out of that hole as low as 520 on some of the data points, and so it's back where it was, like pretty much where it was 6 months ago. So that's pretty good for people that have investments in Noxium. Unfortunately, I'm not one of them. I'm one of those guys that went for the megasite market, and that is really not looking good at all. Still heading down. Here we can see that data points are coming close to the 700 price mark, and the 20-day moving average still trending down. And so I actually think that megasite will break all of these other barriers at 720, 710, and that the actual bottom might turn out to be pretty close to 700 ISK, which I've never seen megasite be at before. It's usually double the price, so quite unexpected how this is still going down, still trending down. Let's have a look at supply demand here. 5 million here, 5 million, 10 million, 14.5 million. So there is still more supply than demand, despite the fact that that the prices are this low, and you can still see them coming in decently regularly. I mean, even here 89 days, all of these are very recent orders still trying to point to each other lower and lower. It's quite depressing if you actually invested in Megasite like I did. Luckily, I've been able to use some of those stocks to create some battleships in the wormhole as well. So it turns out to be decently okay, but if you look at what I could have saved, I think I jumped in at like 950, and so it does show that something I think that something has changed to the core of the nullsec minerals like Megasite. Here is Hydrine then also, look at that, 405, breaking that on the 5-day moving average. That's extremely low again. 401 for the buyers, 408 for the sellers of Hydrine. 6-month chart, look at that, look at how low we're going. We're again hitting all-time lows with a bottom maybe closer to 400 than anything else. Yeah, not good, because these were my 2 peaks like right after the summer. So that was a little bit of a mistake, but as I said, I did manage to unload some of them into some battleship production and some PvP funds. So it's all good, but extremely low, the lowest I've pretty much ever seen Hydrine and Megasite, and there is really no sign that this is going to stop. If you look here, 39.6 million, 5 million, 3 million, another 1 million. You've got a couple of buy orders that try with 5 million and things like that, but if I still see how many 89 here, how many orders less than a day or on here, it's still oversupplied despite the fact that we are at these low prices. Pretty interesting mineral market, how the difference between the high-sec minerals and the null-sec minerals is so apparent here. And then just the Noxium one, which is a little bit of both worlds, is actually the one where you could have made quite a little bit of money if you jumped in at the right time. So yeah, interesting mineral market in my opinion. The effect on the Tech 1 market has generally been that one has been pretty damn stable. So 12 minutes for that. The Tech 1 ship market, of course, a little bit higher high-sec minerals, very low null-sec mineral prices. Overall, decently stable market. The Caracal, though, pretty big move here, right here in the last week or so, from, let me see, 10.6 to 11.3 million. Is that a supply problem? Well, maybe a little bit, but not that much. Or is it just a demand? Look at that, pretty big demand here. And isn't Caracal like a test doctrine or something like that? It could have something to do with that, with a major alliance coming in, purchasing several Caracal fleets, and now we just need a little bit of time for the industry guys to pick up on these pretty high Caracal prices, bringing the supply. So honestly, by next week I'm expecting this to have stopped, and I'm expecting the supply numbers of the Caracal to be quite high. If you can still jump on this and you have some Caracals laying around, you might actually be able to make some profit, like probably like around 10% or something. 1 million a piece I think is in the cards, if you can unload them right now. Next up is the Dominics. Again here, supply pretty much all gone, but there is 74 of them coming in here, but that's actually a pretty old order, or not. Can you do 64 days? Not entirely sure. Let's go for the 6-month chart here. Yeah, holding at 195, which is still okay. I mean, 190 is probably closer to its average, but we had a little bit of a dip and now going back up. And supply, well, it needs to get going again, I think. But just like with the Caracal, despite the fact that it's coming out of a little bit of a dip, it is of course a move up in the last week, or in the last few days, I should say. And thus you need to give it a little bit of time before the industry guys actually come back with more ships. But I do think by next week we'll see all of this normalized. Next up is the Drake, and the Drake doing pretty well, showing off the stability of the Tech 1 market, starting at 47.8, ending at 47.8. Supply demand, quite a bit of supply right here, but that's I think an older order, and other than that, yeah, just a couple coming in, and decent demand here as well for them at 46 million, 48 million for the sellers. So that's pretty small margin, and no signs that this is going anywhere. I guess Drakes have really fallen out of favor, and so because of that, it's just people that maybe use them and lose them here and there, but overall pretty stable. Here's the Myrmidon, also taking off. Is it really 55 million? No, look at that, 51, and then we've got 84 and 55 coming in here. So that's just an outlying data point. I think this will actually normalize pretty quickly. Yeah, we're actually already below 52 million again, so below this point right here. This is going to come right back. And normal price over the last 6 months for the Myrmidon, probably 52, 51. So this is quite okay and quite normal. Keep in mind, the lowest point on this chart would be at 46.5 million, the highest point on this chart at 55 million. That's really not as big of a movement as the chart makes it out to look like. So Tech One market really pretty stable, and you may find some opportunities like in the Caracal and the Dominics where there's actually just been a spike. If you can produce them quickly and bring them to the market, you may actually increase your margins, but overall those tend to be very short-lived. Here is the rupture showing its stability at around the 10 million mark, although all of them are a little bit higher. So I do think that in general terms maybe just a little bit higher for these Tech One chips than like 6 months ago. But overall it's been quite slow, and it's nothing to write home about. It's just I think part of maybe a very slow inflation evolution or something like that, I think. Here's the Talos coming off of a spike, and as you can see, the response that I was expecting last week really has materialized, dumping the price towards 72 million, where it's going to hang around here, 19 and 25 of them. So that supply, it is available. People know when to make their moves, and the Tech One market knows limited spikes that immediately get filled up with big supply, causing a bit of a correction, but overall it's a very stable market at the moment. Moving on to the Tech 2 ships, let's see if we can find some trade opportunities, and that is 1645. So that was the Basilisk spike now last week, and now it's already correcting back. Let's see what the prices are at the moment. 180 for the sellers, 175 for the buyers. So obviously the opportunity to sell your Basilisk ships has passed, and I would wait it out until you can pick one up below 170 before really investing in it. But this was a nice trade opportunity that had materialized last week. Here's the Guardian chart. Still too early, I think. You can see that the bottoms are close to 135, so if it breaks that, maybe that's worth it. But 136 for the buyers, 140.5 for the sellers, still decent numbers right here. You need to give this a bit more time. You need to give this these sell orders right here the time to put their pressure on the price to bring the buy orders even lower, and then I think you can invest in some Guardians. But you can see, of course, the sell opportunities, they do exist for them. Here is the Hound chart. That's probably going to be investment territory, breaking 80 million. We're actually looking at 17.9 million for the buyers. You can see some people are jumping on that opportunity, and honestly I do think that this is okay. There is big supply, that is true, so there is some real pressure on it, but I do think that it's actually a good idea to invest in that here, because at some point people are going to lose an entire Hound fleet. They'll have to replace it, and that is when you get these nice opportunities at 21 or even 23 million. If you can pick them up below 80 million, that's not bad at all. I think it's worth it to consider this. Next up, the Manticore, also dropping down quite a little bit, 21 million. Well, that's still, and 22 million for the sellers, so I would not invest in that just yet. You have to wait and see if this downward movement actually fully materializes or not. Next up, the Nemesis. Let's have a look at that. Again, I would not make a move right here at 20.5 million on the chart. It needs to be below 20 million. What are the, well, actually buyers at 19 million maybe, but I would be quite careful considering the chart here. Next up, the Nighthawk command chip. Look at how stable it's been. I'm quite disappointed by the command chip since last summer. Before that, you could really see big jumps of 50 million, even 70 million, especially when some of those ships were rebalanced. I think that was quite a good time to invest in command ships, but right now it's just too stable, and I would not invest in that. Here's the Oneros chart then. Nice little double spike, stabilizing at 155. Yeah, buy orders below 150. Is that good? That's decent. Coming closer towards, maybe you could purchase a few of them. You can also see that the big supply numbers aren't there anymore. So this could be okay to start investing or considering the Oneros for some investments. Here's the purifier taking off after breaking 18.5 million, so that's not bad. Buy orders are still pretty low, but the sell orders up to 20.5, and you can see some numbers coming in here, so I do think that this will actually correct back quite quickly. And then finally the scimitar finally going down as well. Do we have buy orders below 140? Yes, we do. Pretty interesting, also for your consideration. Scimitars decently good to jump in on buy orders. I think the supply is also slowly starting to dry up. 23, 10, couple of 9s here. Daily volume probably at 50 to 60. So yeah, this could be okay if someone all of a sudden makes a move on the scimitar, because it is this slow. If you manage to pick some up on buy orders, this could be quite good. So I honestly, last week we had a few sell orders right there. The rest of it, I would have said wait it out, I think. But here on this week, I do think some of them are coming into very interesting territory if you want to make some investments for the short and medium term. So Take 2 market for your trading considerations. Moving on to Take 3, 2110. Obviously, let's see if this V-pool has caused any impact from the chart here on the confessor. It hasn't. That's still 40 million for the buyers, 43 million for the sellers. Let's take a quick look at this V-pool itself, or V-pool is I think how I should pronounce it. Buyers 45, sellers 52.5. So as I was expecting, this V-pool corrected quite a little bit faster because all of those materials are available from the confessor launch. And so the very highest data point is only as high as 76 million. So that was to be expected, but what I do wonder is if the production of all of these vehicles, I mean, look at the market, pretty well supplied, people trying to unload them, starting at like 84 million. This is quite normal, of course. That's a pretty decent margin on the investment you're making there. What will be the impact on the Tech 3 ships? And the Tengu, we already know from the bottom tracker, is going up. So let's see what the Legion is doing. Ooh, not moving. Interesting. That one is still slowly going down. I would have expected a move on all of them a little bit, but nope, Legion oversupplied. Look at these pretty big numbers right here. Nothing like that in the buy orders. So there is some downward pressure on the Legion, breaking 180, and I think it will slowly continue to go down. Here's the Loki chart. Similar situation, 67 Lokis, 19, 15, 40, 40. So the oversupply is obviously here. Here's the Proteus chart. Stabilizing, but 39, 34, so oversupply is here as well. And then it's really only the Tengu that took off. Well, it's not even that visible on this one. What did I write down? 182, up 10 million. Buyers 170, sellers 180. Chart never well, it actually did come close to 170, so we did go up quite a little bit. But look at that, 33, 42, 10, 10, 10, all of these right there. I mean, the oversupply in the Tech 3 market in general still seems to hold true. The Tengu, yeah, managed to bounce up just a little bit, but it's going to be quite limited, I feel. 10 million in a week is not bad, but 180, really big supply coming in already at like 181. Yep, look at that, all of these are actually pretty damn recent. And so this is going to start correcting back and coming back in line with the other Tech 3 cruisers. At least that's my expectation on this. So unfortunately, a little bit of what I was expecting. The impact of the next Tech 3 destroyers is quite limited in scope compared to what happened during the Confessor launch, just because of how established it already is, because it's the same materials, and because, well, people have this oversupply situation in Tech 3 markets. I mean, the people that are producing them have so much more capacity than what the market can absorb at the moment, that all of this corrects very quickly, and that in general, yeah, the Tech 3 market is on a decline. There's just oversupply in it. There's just no two ways about that. Moving on to the extra material, that's 24.5 minutes. I chose to go for, let me see here, refined PI stuff. It's been a while since I've touched on a planetary interaction, and I think it could be good to check it out, especially since we are also producing some coolants and polytextiles in the wormhole now on 2 planets. So let's have a look here. Planetary materials, refined. Let's have a look at some of these charts on a 6-month chart. Here is the biocells over 6 months. Yeah, up quite a bit, from I would say 6,000 to 8,000 ISK, and it's really since the beginning of the year that one has moved quite a bit, so not bad for our PI numbers. Here is construction blocks. That's actually down quite a little bit over 6 months, from 8,700 down to 7,400, something like that. Interesting. Here is consumer electronics, up quite a bit. Look at that, up to 9.5k, starting almost at 7k. Here is coolants, which I am producing, pretty good, 7,500 up to 9,500. Seems to be quite a bit of demand for that, so that's very nice. That's increasing the productivity of our wormhole. Here is enriched uranium, that's also tied to fuels, and that one is up quite a bit as well. Let's go over to fertilizers, up. Genetically enhanced livestock, up quite a bit. Holy crap, livestock up, but not that much. Mechanical parts, yep, again fuel related, quite a bit higher than 6 months ago. Interesting. So the general trend in the refined planetary materials is up over 6 months. There are a few outliers here, nice, decently stable, and construction blocks did go down, but here again oxides up. Oh yeah, I'm not going to try and pronounce all of these. Polytextiles, we're actually producing this as well, up to 8,000 from 4,000. Look at that, a doubling of the price in 6 months. Not bad at all, especially not for us, because we also have a polytextiles planet going. Rocket fuel, that one is down, but from 8.5 to 7k, so that's okay. Here is silicate glass, superconductors. I would still put that in the stable category. But the general trend, I think, is pretty obvious. The PI refined planetary materials are up over 6 months by quite a little bit, percentage-wise, some of them as high as 100%. Pretty interesting. I'm not exactly sure what's behind this, but the general trend in these materials is pretty clear. Let's check viral agents up, and water-cooled CPU also up from 3,000 to 4,500, increased by 50%. So not bad, guys. Keep an eye on your PI. I do think at the moment you're able to make quite a bit of money from that. Anyways, that's it for this Eve Talk, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.